Hi everyone, and as mentioned in the last time, we will open a bit more the project management topic and take a look at hybrid project management. I mentioned in the last session, I'm not really, at least not intentionally, have never used hybrid project management. So Manuel, maybe you can give a bit of an intro of what hybrid project management actually is.
I'm pretty sure that you have used it. Maybe not named as such, but I'm pretty sure that these type of hybrid projects, as one could name it, is quite something that is commonly used nowadays. Because as I said in the other video, there are so many methods for waterfall approach style projects, and you also have a quite good amount of rule sets and execution types if you want to go down the agile path, right? But still, I would say they are both on the edges of the continuum when you look on projects. And I think there is something in the middle which I would call hybrid, or which the market calls, or whoever calls hybrid projects. And this is basically where you still have a very, very well-defined start and end point, maybe from a timely perspective, maybe from a task perspective to a certain degree, so what do you want to achieve? And you have a set of phases that are a little bit more leaning towards the one method, like classical waterfall with some tasks which some people have to fulfill. But you then have a phase which is typically the development phase, where you more go on a development approach because the result is not too clear yet, or you want to still very well incorporate the feedback of different stakeholders into the whole process whatsoever, you name it.
Okay, and so it can be, sorry, then just to make clear for me as well, hybrid generally means a mix of methodologies between waterfall and agile. Doesn't matter what kind of waterfall and doesn't matter what kind of agile, but generally the mix of methodologies.
Yeah.
And to translate it down, maybe you would have maybe a fixed budget taken from a more classical waterfall approach, and say that, yeah, I have, I don't know, 100 euros to do this project, and you have 3 months to finish this project. So you have a strict deadline on it, and maybe you even plan your finances upfront. But then you have the timeline and the budget within what you have to fit. But then you start working in a more agile way with a Kanban board and tasks, and managing your tasks and what you have to do, and maybe even operating sprints within that given time frame, right? So that would be a hybrid approach, right?
That would be a classical hybrid approach.
Classic hybrid. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
okay.
I would agree. And I think if you say hybrid, maybe that's only my definition of hybrid, but I think it covers it well. Yeah, you will still have some sort of governance around, and maybe some requirements that you would not do on a traditional agile project. So on a Scrum, when you just have your Scrum team, you put in your epics and user stories and whatsoever, and plan your releases. But if you really talk about projects, you will always have a more or less defined start and end date, for example. Yeah.
Okay. And what would be the benefit of using? I think it's always the question. Why would I use hybrid?
If you're in some areas more flexible when it comes to the execution. So thinking of, like, you have a goal. You want to, for example, develop a new customer portal, just as an example. Yeah. Okay. Of course, you could do this in a total agile way as well, but you still, as you said, you have a defined budget and you have a defined end date where this must be live by, I don't know, end of June, whatsoever. Yeah?
Okay.
And you have a developer team that is available for 1.5 months, let's say 3 sprints, yeah, during that time frame for the work to be done. But nobody has ever created such a portal yet. So you don't know in detail what is the actual outcome that you want to produce. If you go by a traditional work, you would have to have everything more or less set in stone at the beginning of the project, which is not doable in this case.
You have written down all the functionalities, what is the exact outcome, even maybe a drawing of how it should look like. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You will have a rough idea. And with this hybridization, you will have the freedom to, on the way going, be able to adjust as it comes. Yeah. Maybe you see some roadblocks which you have to solve. Maybe you have some other items, and you don't want to deal with these change request things whatsoever. So they're really the beauty of a hybrid project, where during the development phase, you can actually adjust a little bit and be a little bit more flexible.
Do I have the right assumption that maybe a lot of companies a lot of bigger corporations call this actually agile? I have maybe seen a couple of examples of bigger companies working in an agile method with a fixed timeline. That's why I asked in the beginning.
Yeah,
exactly this example. That is it actually hybrid then?
I think it is. I mean, to be honest, I don't really care about the definition in detail, but yeah,
Sure.
that's what you probably would call a classical Scrum fall approach, where you still have your Scrum circles in some teams and maybe some sprints, but the start and end is quite defined, and you have some governance around it is well defined, which is not typical for really working in an agile method. Honestly.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of bigger companies that are not in IT software development could actually benefit from it a lot, because they have the traditional, we need to have a set budget for it because this is how we work and this is how we operate. And most of the big corporations will not change that for the time to come, at least in my opinion. They also would like some result within a given time frame, but then they can incorporate a more effective development in the middle. So it could be the sweet spot, as it sounds. And then I can also figure out that I have used it previously. I just didn't know it was hybrid. I didn't put a label on it.
Exactly. No, that's why I meant. I think labeling these things is not really necessary. It doesn't matter. I think in any case, and also again coming back a little bit to the system perspective, what's important is that you have a solution that supports your way of working, whether you call it traditional, waterfall, hybrid, agile, whatsoever. You should have the possibility to use one central system for everything, and not have to maybe to integrate, especially for detailed development work, but the data should be aggregated in one solution without the need to go via Excel sheets, PowerPoint, whatsoever, you name it.
Yeah. Okay, and as far as I know, ServiceNow does have a good solution for. Oh, you are ahead of me. Yeah, ServiceNow does have a good solution for this.
Exactly. No, I just wanted to show very briefly a quite good example on how you could structure the different way of how you would work in projects. So what I just pulled on is a traditional waterfall approach. And I will just show the analytics page in this case. So you see here the different tasks, the resource plans, benefits, you see upcoming tasks. These are very traditional style elements, as you have here. And if I go to and open just another project from this view, you will see that still you have the screen similar, but the information that is displayed is completely different. We are now talking about stories and tasks, but we still have costs, for example, and a benefit trend. So this is actually
which you don't really have in an agile project. Yeah.
Exactly. But still, we talk about stories and tasks. If we, for example, then look at the planning, and this is where the sweet spot of a hybrid approach comes into. You still have, for example, initiation with different tasks that could be very strictly defined based on each other with dependencies whatsoever. But you see here, you have this sort of phase, F execution, oh wonder. It's a development phase. This is then handled in a more agile approach. And when I look at this from a different perspective, it even gets a little bit more concrete, because when I look at, for example, the initiation phase, you see here I have different typical project tasks. But if I look at the dev execution, I now have the user stories. And this is then really interesting, especially when you're not looking at it into a classical list approach, but then really going into a Kanban style board, where you're more in the agile world than even.
Okay. So it really is a mixed match of so the delivery method itself would more likely be an agile related approach, and then kind of the frames around it are still within the realms of a waterfall project.
Exactly. But you still have elements like the resources, financials, or still the status reporting. I think these are the elements that really matter the most, because this is then details that you aggregate on the next level, whether it is a project or a portfolio or something like that.
Okay, I think it's clear. I think it's clear for me. I think maybe the next time I will intentionally use a hybrid method instead of the. So far, the only hybrid I've used intentionally was a Toyota Prius, but now I've learned of a new hybrid as well.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
That's what these videos should be for, right?
Yeah. And apologies to everyone. I just have two cats who like to be quite loud next to me. That's why I've been looking to the side. Okay, then I think as an intro, probably that's enough. And then the next time we would then look into more how to really put a layer on top of everything, and take a look at how you could organize projects demands into portfolios and how you could manage your investments in portfolios, right?
Yes,
that
exactly.
would be the plan. All right.
I think that will be fun, because then hopefully sooner or later all the things we were talking about should then finally make sense on why the hell should you do all this stuff.
Yeah, I think I think afterwards we can also maybe think, and that's up for then discussion and maybe feedback from everyone, whether it would make sense to really pick one of the systems that we use and maybe follow the roots of an idea and go through the whole process as well, maybe in a longer session that we could just take a look at how the whole thing looks, more of a demo session than a short discussion, but maybe we could do that as well once we are a bit more familiar with portfolios.
That's a good idea. Let's go for that.
All right. Thanks, Manuel, and thanks everyone once again.
Thanks for watching.
I hope you enjoy these freestyle discussions on topics that actually we work in and that actually interest us, and I hope that it interests you as well.
I hope so too.
All right.
Then hope to see you next time soon. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.